Hello folks and welcome to Erannorth Chronicles. Today we will be starting a new mini-series about basic tutorials and how to approach your builds and all this cool stuff. So you will be learning how to play Erannorth Chronicles from the ground up. And I assume that you haven't any idea whatsoever of what this game is about. So let's start about telling you first what is Erannorth. Erannorth is the name of the world setting for starters, which is an alternative Earth. There every myth and legend is real, and our setting is a post-medieval era ready to transition to the Age of Enlightenment and steampunk wonders. Meanwhile, way back in the history of the world, there was an event that kind of reset everything, so you can imagine it as a few thousand years after a post-apocalyptic event. Now, let's see what the game itself is about. It's an old-school card game with a tabletop RPG-like progression. And it's also Sandbox, which means that there is no main story and you have the absolute freedom to go and do whatever you want in the world. So, to succeed in your adventures, you must combine both RPG elements and progression with card game mechanics. Unlike traditional games, your cards have meaning and grow in power as you gain additional skill ranks, attributes, perks, etc., like your spells and abilities in an RPG game. But unlike a traditional RPG game, you will fight your battles using your deck of cards. So this is where the similarities with most deck builders end. It's not a game where your cards are weak or strong. It's a game where your character is either weak or strong and the cards follow that build. For instance, let's start a bit by giving you a tour in the UI. If we had an active character, we can resume with this button. I can save and load my characters from here. This is the settings where you can set various things like resolution, the audio, etc. Modify your controller settings if you are playing with one. Verbose log will give you more information in the log. Various font sizes if you use the new deck builder or a legacy one. And the other important thing to see here basically is this. Mark all tutorials unseen. So if you have seen the tutorials and you forgot what they are about, you can click this button to see them all over again. And if you see these tutorials, do read them. Don't skip them, they are important chunk of information that you have to know. The other one is ally buttons always visible, which I will activate now and apply and save, and I will tell you in a bit what this does. Okay, so we have the rulebook, your best friend in this game. You have to know the rules of the game, and you can access it with F1, you can close it with F1 like so. You can search for any terms you don't know, like what defend does, what defend does, what is multicast. There are several options, and this is a generic description of the mechanic and so on. So anything you need to know, it's on the rulebook, including the icons, legends, and how you navigate the overworld map, the gameplay basics, what do card effects do, the game flow, your attributes, everything you need to know about the game is here, and if it's not here, then it's not something to know, but just an English word, literally. There is also some external links that you can follow to our Discord community, to this YouTube channel, Steam Workshop mods, the Steam community guides, where you will also find the player's handbook, and the Nexus mods, where you can find some additional mods. Okay, so next you can manage your mods and expansions from here. I'll leave that for now. Custom mods, you can create your own custom mods once you are more familiar with the vanilla ones. Player handbook, you can search for cards here, and there are some special symbols that you can follow. So if, for example, I wanted to find cards that deal damage and their element is astral, I could do this, and the search would show me 83 cards that deal damage or have the damage keyword in them, and also their element is astral. Okay, and here are the various groups of the cards individually by school or skill. So for example, this is the blood magic card set, this is the hunting set, and so on. So let's see the anatomy of a card. This up here is the element. The element is air and the action point cost is 2. And I can click this little button here. This is a button actually. Show me its codex entry along with some additional information. So all cards have a tier, which is denoted by these little diamonds here. And if they don't, it means that the card can't level up. It also means that it's easy to find, it's very cheap to buy. The more stars, the more levels a card can gain. The more diamonds, the more levels. And the effects can in some cases improve as the card gains levels. Also synergies you add to such cards will improve. Synergies are denoted with this arrow symbol here, and playing channel lightning will give damage synergy to the card that you will play after. And the card that you will play after, even if it wouldn't deal damage before, now it will. And any bonuses that it could get, it will get retroactively. We'll talk about synergies in details. This symbol is the skill and the requirement. So this action requires aeromancy, and if you don't have aeromancy, if you don't have this skill, then you can't play this card. This symbol is an alternative cost. It means that you can discard this card to play this alternative effect. And you can't do that either unless you also meet the requirements to play the card normally. Now there are too many effects to go over them. You don't have to know them all at once. I will show you how to approach things in a bit. But anyway, this is the player's handbook where you can study the various cards in the game, and there are quite a few, 4,142 cards to play literally every character you can imagine. Here is the enemy compendium. You can see the enemies. You can also use some filters listed down, like for example I could search for skeleton and find the most hateful creatures in the game, which are these skeletons here, and they are the most hateful because of their many resistances to various effects. And we'll be talking about resistances and how to overcome them shortly. Finally, Book of Heroes. You can find your dead heroes, and you can find the heroes that have completed a mode and jump them into any other mode. For example, this one completed Collector, and she can now go to any mode that I like. For example, Chosen Plus, click here and you will go there, or you will get a character here in your active character slot, which you can click to enter that game. And finally, the quick button. Now, quick challenge. It's a gauntlet mode that creates a totally randomized character. So let's do that first. Let's see how that will work for us. So this is the game interior. We are playing with a random character. I didn't make them. I don't know how do they look like. I don't know what skills they have. It's totally random. So let's see here. This is our character sheet. It's a Beldam Hydromancer, and you can change the portrait if you want later on. You can even change the name and call here Mariah. And this is the skills that I have, and each one corresponds to a quite large card set of cards. So Pyromancy, there are like 87 cards, and Witchcraft are about 100 something, 161. So you get the point. All these are characters that I can find and use, but in order to use them I must have the rank that required. So with one here, with Pyromancy of 1, I can use cards that have the asterisk requirement or cards that have 1 as a requirement, but not cards that have 2 as a requirement. Here you can see your affinities, which if you click will open the rulebook and explain what are affinities, and in layman's terms it's what improves the damage of cards. So for example, my dark element cards that deal dark damage have a +4 included in their value. A +5 if they are air, a +5 if they are water, a -4 if they are bludgeoning, and so on. Then we have the perks, and you can click on a perk to open the entry as well. So if it has cards, you can click on the card, show the card, and while you are in that view you can click the icon to dig deeper, see any associated cards, see the context entry, click and find additional information about that effect, or even search. I could just F1 here to search for something. For example, what is synergy? I could just go and type synergy here, and it will tell me that the next action you play, or for any reason get played automatically this turn, gains the synergy effect at a base value. And there is a whole lot about synergies as a separate section. And F1 will close this window, X will close everything. So avoid X unless you want to close everything. So let's get a look in the UI and we'll go back to the character sheet. First of all, hover over everything. See what they do. If you hover, you will find various information. This is the log. You can open and close it. And hovering will also show you a fragment of it. So character sheet, my collection, deck switcher, you can save and load deck presets here. Your backpack. If you are out of combat, you can use your single-use consumable cards directly from your collection as if they were in your hands. So I can just go click this icon and use it right here, right now. But I won't do that. Then once per turn you can shuffle your deck, you can view your draw pile. So this is the cards currently in my draw pile. I can customize the battlefield, and we'll talk about that in a bit. This is my hit points, this is my action points, and this is my character. So you can advance in a node or in a turn by clicking this button or hitting space. Here you can camp, hunt, gather fruits and other various activities, and this button commands all your allies to attack. This is the counter of the hand count. Okay, so I hit space.
This is terrible.
Advance node, this is terrible means that we got into an ambush, and you can see here that certain things occurred as we advanced the node, and I have the verbose log on. So what happened is that I ended my turn and the phases that were relevant triggered, like I restored action points, like the node rules activated. For example, in daylight, concealment effects have a penalty and there is a 50% chance to get ambushed, and so on. My equipment played. Then we spot the enemies and find out that we are ambushed. The enemies get some buffs. We lost some defense because it's an ambush, and that makes us vulnerable. So this is the log, and you can change its size to anything, and you can even drag it elsewhere. So if you don't use this area here, you can just put it here, or make it larger and put it here. But as you will find out, this area is used for some stuff. Reset will take it back, hide will just hide it. Now if you want to search stuff, you can also search them here instead of using the rulebook. I can just type weekend and find it in a blink of an eye. Escape will get me back to menu, where I can save and load, and in order to save, the tabletop must be empty. There shouldn't be any enemies here. In order to load, I must not have any character active. So if I want to load, I have to first restart and clear the game and then load. Don't worry, it doesn't take much. We have the enemies here. You can see that they have some elemental resistances. You can see what they plan to do. And I can see what they plan to do because I have defeated them at least once. And I have this reveal intent button set to on. So if I click it, this intent will go away. And if I click it back, it will activate because enemies are here. And this button is the summoner view, which distributes my ally versus the enemy. Since I don't have allies, I can expand the enemies. But if I had allies here, then I could have this on to view more of my allies, up to 10 at a time. Expert mode is that you don't see anything when you hover over the cards, because once you know what the cards do, this might be annoying. And before you know what the cards do, you should read them and see what they do. So this action won't trigger active synergies. Synergies are cards that add effects to your next card, like this one. Synergy damage. The next action this turn has damage 3. Okay, so the next action this turn has damage 3. This card also deals 3 intense damage, and we can alt click to view more details and the evolution. It doesn't have any evolution. So synergy, damage, all explained in detail, but let's see. Synergy damage. I right click the card and now I have this here. Damage 3. Optimal target enemy. The card that I will add it, vulnerable, has 3 to 7 damage, a plus 3 takes it to 10 damage, and then we go halfway there to find the minimum, so it deals 5 to 10 damage. I don't need to know how damage is calculated, the game calculates it for me. And if I go to this card, nothing happens because this card here won't trigger active synergies because it has this scroll here, and the description will tell you this action won't trigger active synergies. So here, so here, so here, but this card needs to target an ally, so I can't use it to target an enemy, the card will fail. And so here the damage is split, so the bonus is going to split among these two elements. And let's say I will use the arrow, the fire arrow. This arrow here can help me target and also tells me what's the estimated damage, the enemy survival rates, if they will resist vulnerable or not. If they have other effects that I should be aware, like concealment, there is 10% chance to avoid damage here. And you can see on the left the active effects they have. So they have concealment, ignores retribution when they attack, 10% to avoid all damage, deals double damage, and also flanked us, which is what causes us to lose defend. So let's use it here. Now this enemy has a vulnerable counter, which the vulnerable stacks they have are reduced when their turn comes. But before they do that, they will be suffering +1 damage. Okay, splash. Wet, 2 random enemies. The dice means random. Inflict wet. What does wet do? Removes all burning. Wet status may additional boost or hinder other actions. So all wet does is remove burning and boost additional actions. Nothing we are interested in. Vulnerable. Inflict vulnerable. Vulnerable enemies receive +1 damage per country. That's more like it. So let's use that. 2 random enemies. Now this guy suffers 3 additional damage, 2 additional damage. Bottom line is, if you can apply vulnerable, apply it first. Also note that now he has 6% chance to resist vulnerable, and that's because he has 3 vulnerable stacks. The more they do, the more chances they will have to resist, while other enemies may resist stuff out of the bat. For example, this guy is resistant to sneak attacks, bewitch, bleed, venom, and entangle. So if I go with the arrow here, it will tell me that they have 85% chance to resist bleed, because he is resistant to bleed, while this guy here has 0% chance. Okay, now if I had a card that deals bleed now, it will have indicated that this guy may resist it because of the bleed I added to him. Okay, so what else we read here? Wolf. He's an animal, he's living. His class is animal, power is the maximum damage he can deal, health it's 11, but he has a -3 stacks. He will lose 3 hit points when his turn comes, and that's because of the bleed here. He's in the wildlife action. The damage modifier we have for him is +3 because he has 3 vulnerable stacks. And his plan is to enrage, then attack. So what's enrage, then attack? Enemy power increases by +1 for each rage counter. Enemy damage threshold is power divided by 2 to power. So he will attack after boosting his power. He will attack. And he will play the Playful Leap. What's the Playful Leap? It's a card that he will play this card, and this card will come to my hand. And if I target the frog with this card, I will befriend him. He will be instantly removed for combat and give me harmless frog card in the game. But this card will also unravel and gives me the venom status. So this is what this guy will do, and I know that because I have defeated them again, and because the reveal intent is on. So deck card description, this button, hand view will change how your cards show up here to give you more space or less. And finally the active effects that are on your character. Okay, let's see what we have now. So enrage, then attack. Damage over 11 will kill the enemy. We are estimated to 6 to 14. He will still enrage and attack. The enemy tactics aren't locked in stone, so to speak, but they reevaluate their moves based on the effects they have. Also, you have your backpack. Your backpack allows you, during combat, to look at 4 random consumables you own outside your deck, pay 1 action point per card, and draw it. So, I can, for example, draw this, and now use it to draw a card and restore action points. You can also discard cards that you don't need, for example, Profane Gift. I don't have allies, I control-clicked it to discard it. You can rearrange cards in your hand as well. You can also cast cards like so, but there is no need. Self cards, you can just right click them, and enemy cards, you can point the arrow to give you more details. So let's also use Cackle, and estimated damage 5 to 17, most likely will survive. Chances are he will resist bleed because he's a plant and he shouldn't be bleeding at all. This icon now told me that he resisted it. Okay, I pass my turn. He attacks, he will deal 3 to 7 damage, dealt 7. The frog played the Playful Leap. The Playful Leap unraveled, gave me poison, and now it's in my hand. And you can click here to see exactly what happened, or hover. Okay. So let's get rid of the frog, which we now got as an ally. And allies can normally attack, but this frog is passive, so he can't attack. If I try to attack, nothing will happen, and if I hover here, tell me this permanent can't attack, use their special ability. Their special ability at this particular case is his demise. If he dies, he will heal 3 and restore 3. So I can destroy him to heal and restore action points. Anyway, let's get overhit now. And as you can see, this card that doesn't deal damage, now due to the synergy, does deal damage. So I can use it here. And the synergy is gone. Again, I can give him burn, get synergy damage, and add it to a card. And if I add it to a card that has damage, it's a +1 bonus. A card that doesn't deal damage is just 3 to 6 brand new damage, because now any effect that should apply to the card is. So it's a base 1 damage that has my air affinity. Any perk bonuses that I have that affect damage in Aeromancy cards. For example, if I have the perk that says Aeromancy action damage +1. I don't have one, but if I had one. This card here would be dealing more damage. So +1, +5 my affinity, 6 deals 3 to 6 damage. And we'll be talking more about it. I didn't even have to kill him, he would die from the negative status, but anyway. Treasure note. Treasures might be locked, and you will need thievery or other skills to unlock them. This one it isn't. I can open it, and I can draft any of these cards. You can pick up to 2. And you can click them to see what they do. You can F1 to consult the rulebook and F1 to close it back out. You can go to your collection or inventory and see what's going on here. Close and you are back here. So let's take the tribal talisman. It goes to our inventory. You can also hover here to see how much a card worth. And let's take the knives to my stash. Okay, so back to my character sheet. Affinities, resistances, attributes, you can click and find out what it's all about. And these are your archetypes information, and you can click and find more about what the beldams are all about and so on. Finally, you can claim perks to get bonuses. Now let's talk about perks. It says all actions weaken +2. That doesn't mean that all my actions are cards in Erannorth, will be dealing weaken. It means that actions that already have weaken will now have +2 weaken more. Actions that have vulnerable will have a +2 more, and so on. Here is my hit point, action points per turn, allies, deck, and hand. Make sure to hover over everything. If you see question marks like this, click them and so on. Progression. Your next level benefits, challenges you completed, and some rewards that this character can get by completing challenges. And challenges is something that we will see in the sandbox mode. Next we have equipment. You can click the minus to unequip items, the plus to equip them, hover, click, will show you information on the card, click out, will take you out, so you can equip this, for example. Deck, your current deck, you can do mini tweaks here, but there is a dedicated deck builder which you can use. And you can search for cards. Here you can optimize your deck if it goes above the cards you need. You can click optimize to automatically drop it to your deck minimum using an algorithm. And this is some filters you can use, like see cards that you don't have in your deck, cards that you have 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, cards that deal all damage, slashing damage, piercing damage, plagionic damage, astral damage, dark light, acid, fire, water, air, earth, cards by tier, cards by card level, we don't have any card levels yet, cards by action cost, by organization if they are allies, cards that you can use actually, cards that you can use and require training, and many other filters that you can use up here by writing them. B will show me all the cards. I can also press B. Split view will split the view between this short deck listing versus my collection here. Manage decks, I can save decks. The deck optimizer also saves a copy. I can load decks, and to save a deck I will just type here start. To override start I can type here start once more. So if I make a changes, like say this one, and type start, now the new start deck is the modified version, and to load it I will just click on it. What else we have here? Equipment will show you the equipment. You can also handle equip and equips from here. This will show you any infused cards you have. Infused cards are not lost when their uses go to 0. They remain in your collection in a state that we call dormant. And this icon now becomes similar to this, and you can recharge it. All cards you can use right now. Trained cards you can use right now. Action cards, ally cards, backpack cards, Out of combat you can use them if they are self. And commodity cards, which are cards that are more valuable when selling them to merchants. So this gives us a basic idea of the UI when we are outside of the sandbox mode. So let's jump in to the sandbox mode. All we did now was use the quick challenge. We just played with a random character, and you can resume this character, but now that I will click new, this slot will be destroyed. If I wanted this character, I would have to save him before I restarted. Okay. So new, yes, we are in the middle of the game. Start new game, yes, this slot is destroyed. All these slots are not. Start new game. So we are here, and because I have start character creation on this screen, I'm seeing the pre-generated characters, which you will see too. And if I want to play, if this is my first game, I can click on a character here. It will load everything there is about this character. I can go change my difficulty to exploration and maybe fine-tune his appearance, but it's not needed. Basically, click, change difficulty, go to exploration for example, and play. That's all you have to do to play. Okay. And you are in the world map, and now you can see some additional shortcuts here. Clicking on your character will show you some additional options like your collection, character sheet to explore the area, visit the local town, your journal. And while the world is generating, the journal is not accessible. Now it is. It will show you quests that you can do. It can take you to these places in the map. For example, Hildwood is here right now. And if I wanted to do quests to Hildwood, now where is my character? I can click here. If I wanted to go to Hildwood, I would have to right click to travel there. And I'm now in an erase, as you can see from this. You are in a race and you are tired. Press M to explore. So pressing M or clicking will show me the quest here, and I can go and do anything that it's green and white without risking my neck, and probably avoid red areas because the enemy levels might be too high for your character. So Kaldorak's Lair, you can preview the rewards, you can explore. So we have 3 enemies, one will flank. Now what flank does? Let's right click and find out. You will lose defend for its flank counter. And single combat will gives us flank, so 5 flank means 10 vulnerable. You can click here to see that you lose defend for its flank counter, so flank 5 means 10 vulnerable. And the enemy will pick a random ally. If the chosen ally is your soulmate, that's a special type of ally, or there was no ally to pick, you gain 5 retribution and then they attack. Otherwise the enemy and the chosen ally deal damage to each other. So we don't have an ally. When this guy acts, I will get 5 retribution, 10 vulnerable, and he will attack me. And meaning he will deal more damage. So if this was the order, for example, and he was to act first, you can rearrange enemies by dragging them like so. And if you want to put the enemy back farther, and there are way too many enemies, you can just put him diagonally down and it will place him in the end. And if this guy was first, he would give me vulnerable, then this guy will give me vulnerable and then attack. So I will be taking extra damage, and if I was to end my turn, probably I would want things like this ordered. Okay, so let's see what else we can do. We have quick slash. We can target an enemy. Double means it might deal double damage. And if the enemy dies, that's what the skull means. If this effect triggers only if the target leaves play, we play quick slash again for free. And it will target the first enemy. Will be dead, so this guy will be the first enemy and he will die. Get targeted by quick slash. So when actions are casted automatically, they target the first enemy, or the one that we have marked with this button as our preferred target. So as I said before, hover over everything, it will give you additional details. Okay, now if we want to avoid combat, there is an effect called taunt. So I could use it here, for example. And now he is forced to attack in their next turn if they are able. We also got a synergy damage, which we can add, for example, to on guard duty, which will give us defend. Defend prevents enemy damage once. It's like a temporary shield of hit points. And retribution. Distribute up to 16 intense damage to each enemy attacking you this turn. So we have a pool of 16 intense damage that cannot be resisted, that enemies that attacks us will be sharing. Okay, so let's start here. We now have 16 retribution and 10 defend. Let's give some vulnerable here too. He has 25% chance to resist the taunt. He did. We see that resisted taunt. If you are knight, means this notation here, we are not. Gain extra defend, otherwise we have the greater stun and the deal 4 to 9 bludgeoning damage. It also needs 3 action points and we have only 1. So this enemy will now shield, meaning that he will no longer attack me. This enemy will flank, so will give boost to the next enemy that will attack me. There is no one. And this enemy will attack. So what we have achieved here is to take only 1 attack. And out of the 3 to 6 damage, I will be defending up to 14. He will take 16 retribution. Let's see how it's played out by passing. Shields. Attacks me, gets retribution damage. Flanks me. Breaks defend. Now I have defend 7. And you can at any point click and see what happened right here. L will also open and close the lock. So now this guy has sealed, meaning he resists 6 damage, and his next action is defensive stance, which will give him some physical damage, and we play with physical damage, so that's something bad, we don't want that. Shield will also shield this guy additionally, so let's kill him. He blocked some of the damage, now he has 3 shield. Let's stun this guy. Now he won't be able to attack. And this guy will attack though, so let's get some defend and resistance. Okay, another thing you need to be concerned about is reinforcements, which reinforcements may arrive at any moment. Let's get negative strain. This reduces the cost of my actions. I also have a vulnerable synergy, and I played a card that ignores synergies, so they stack now, and my longsword or any card that doesn't ignore synergies can potentially get that. Okay, now this guy is very hard to beat. We can try this Gambit card. It has a befriend option, and if the enemy has hit point less than 12, they might leave play. Gambit means that one of the three options is chosen and played at random. So we got the draw card, unfortunately. Another thing that we can do to overcome his resistance is to give him bleed. Bleed will slowly drain his hit points a bit. So now our defenses are dropping down, and we are nearing a point where reinforcements might arrive, and luckily we managed to make him enemy to die from negative stats, so let's move him aside. And let's get block. Block will give us defense. Block also is a reaction. Reaction, this lightning action, means that after you play any card, you discard all reaction cards in your hand. So it will give us energy vulnerable and defend, which we can now add here to this guy. He gets fight defensively. Let's get some synergy. Deal some damage, adrenaline surge, lose one hit point, draw a card, restore action points. Let's draw 2 cards. Sealed Bass. Now if you don't like the cards that you have, you can shuffle your deck once per turn. You can discard certain cards to make sure that you will be getting other cards, but I will just shuffle in this case. So incapacitated. Now he has defensive stance, which gives him also 50% chance to ignore retribution, and he resists 4 slashing, piercing and bludgeoning damage. So piercing he resists 6, bludgeoning he resists 5 as you can see in the damage overview, and slashing he resists 4. So this is slashing. Let's increase our slashing damage. I will play Taunt. Taunt also got the damage and kill him. And anyway, you get the point of the flow. Now, let's say that I want to save my game. I would press escape, save and load, and save him into one of these slots I have. And let's say I will save him. I don't need this slot anymore. I would either click this to empty it or just click save, and now this character is saved here. Okay. And I think that's a good progress for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I will be seeing you next time with some additional information where we'll be diving deeper into builds and how to create your own custom characters from scratch. That's all, folks. Bye bye.